I'm on a mission to teach people to start from scratch and also have organizations adopt what starting from scratch talks about, which is a learning mindset and creating, learning groups and clubs within the organization.
Welcome to Unexpected Journey, the show where each week top professionals share work wisdom and life lessons about their careers and what they have learned about human experience in the workplace. I'm your host, annebibb. This week, we have Osnat Benari. She is a product and leadership coach for companies and professionals. She's been named one of the top product-led growth influencers. Oz serves on the advisory board for Audioburst and Computer Science at Hunter College and advocates for the resilience and mental health in the workplace. And her book, Starting from Scratch, Manage Change Like Your Career Depends on It, is an Amazon bestseller. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and leave your comments below. Now let's get started. Welcome, Oz. I'm so glad that we are finally getting to talk.
Yeah, same. I've been wanting to do this for a
while. So let's go back a little bit. Let's start from the beginning, because everybody has like this pivotal moment in their life that helps them pick where their journey is and where it's going to go. Because I'm sure that you didn't think that you were going to write this when you were younger, and this is where you're going to be, and this is where your focus was going to be. And you didn't grow up in the United States.
Right.
So can you walk us through kind of like what your background is, what that pivotal moment is, how you got here?
Yeah, definitely. So it's true. I'm not from the States originally, and also never thought that I'm going to write about this. The only thing that I did know is that I'm going to write a book one day. It was actually a childhood dream and something that I did as a young teenager. I worked as a teen journalist at a teen magazine, the largest one, but still, it was in the little.
I would have been so jealous of you. I always wanted to be that. I wanted to be that girl, that girl.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. And also I worked in 2 competing magazines because the largest one didn't care if I would work at the second largest one. Writing the book, I did find that I started from scratch many, many times, but I do credit, I want to say, the biggest leap that I've done when I moved to the States, because I not only started from scratch on my career, but also on my kind of life and my family's life and my family's kind of trajectory or where I thought, we would build this. So this was like the most kind of changing moment, and one that, by the way, my book starts with that story of, coming to a workplace, thinking that I know everything, thinking that I have a job, that I know what it is all about. It's the job that brought me here. And then being affected by the usual, org changes made me need to start from scratch under very, I want to say, weird circumstances, because everything was new to me. The country, the laws, the norms, how it's being done here is very different than where I come from. So it was more, I think it had a largest effect on me, and also one that kind of put the ground basement, the basement for this building of starting from scratch.
We recently, a few months ago, had Amy Jones-Vadalos on, and one of the conversations that we had was around product experience and how that impacted customer experience and user experience and employee experience. And I'm curious what your thoughts are with regard to how product impacts customer experience and user experience. Are those two different? Are they the same? How do they interact?
Yeah. Well, I think so. First of all, customer experience is basically everything that your customer experiences from you. It's not just your product, it's your marketing, it's your sales, it's your customer support, it's so many other aspects that we communicate with our customers. And sometimes it's possible that our customers love our product, but the overall experience of working with us is terrible. So they'll move on and find a replacement where they feel better. And maybe the product is a little bit lacking, but the overall experience is just better.
It's interesting to see how organizations will invest and put so much money into product. But when it comes to investing in customer experience, they're like, but where's the return on investment?
Yeah. And you mentioned my bragging moment, which is to be a product-led growth influencer. And one of the things that product-led growth stands for is to actually see not the product as the product team as leading the company, or the product is the only thing that matter. The product-led growth means that all the organization functions that work with customers will have a product manifestation. That's what it means.
Oh,
That
can you talk
means,
more about that? Like, what does that mean? All of
yeah,
the organization has product manifestation. What is that?
yeah. So for
I'm
example,
intrigued.
customer success or customer onboarding can happen by humans, over the phone, over email, over whatever. But once it's inside your product, that's product-led growth. So any onboarding videos or messages, or today we can use tools for personalized messages of saying, welcome back, Anne. You haven't been here for a while. We are happy to see you, versus the first time, that we see you, we explain to you the product in a different way. Or if you haven't seen a certain feature that we just released and now it's the first time you're seeing it versus someone else that has used it many times, we need to tailor that experience to the user, but put it inside the product. It does not belong outside. An example, yesterday I was looking at a new AI tool, and I used many of them today to basically ramp my experience with AI and exactly kind of know what's happening around me. And there is a tool that they have an app, and you download the app. It's very self-explanatory. And then I used it. I did the function it's supposed to do. And then it created errors for me. And the end experience for me was, okay, I used the product. It was affordable. It was easy to use. I did not need too much knowledge to use it, although it's an AI product. But the results were mediocre. But the only thing I could do is open a ticket and complain. And then I tested a similar product. It's actually exactly the same product, a different company. They didn't have an app, they had a website. Okay, so whatever choice you do. But before I even started, there was a video there from the founder explaining to me how to use the product and also what is the product limitations, so that I don't make certain mistakes, which, by the way, I would have done them on their platform because this is how I behaved on their competitor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So to avoid doing certain things. And then it allowed me to do the same thing as I did with the original app. And then at the end, I had a way to provide feedback in the product.
Fascinating.
That's the difference. The difference is between a complaint versus me providing feedback so that they are getting better. And I feel I have control over my experience, control over the bad feelings your product gives me, the good feelings your product gives me. Everything is inside the product. And that's the difference between the two.
That is incredibly interesting. And now that you say that, I can think of so many different situations where I had an experience with one provider and it was mediocre. And then I went to a different one And they did have, whether it was a video or different instructions or something, but it was, they had learned the lesson and they guided the customer through the experience to make it a better customer experience.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, our friend Denise today posted on LinkedIn that she was at a 5-star hotel that doesn't clean the room every day. And it happened to me several times. The difference is between the hotel that will do that and the hotel that will do the same, but will say, but if you let us know until noon, we can still clean up. Now, the other hotel probably is the same. Probably if I'll call and I'll ask for cleanup, they will do the same. The difference is being proactive and really putting inside your product, inside the experience, the ability to fix and do better and fit your customers' needs and obviously exceed them.
That is a term that I'm sure is very familiar in the product world. That is just something I'd never heard, and that's that product-led experience. So that's interesting. I love that.
So there are a lot of organizations today that are proud of themselves being product-led and doing product-led growth methodologies. I think that I don't know. It's a matter of time until everybody behaves this way and learns the method, and the others that don't will not be as successful.
It seems to me that by being a product-led organization, that is in fact investing in customer experience.
Absolutely.
And because you're seeing the return on investment then. Whereas if you're an organization that is just trying to embrace customer experience and not being a product-led, then you're not understanding the way that the two go together.
Yeah.
It's a very minute, it's nomenclature, and it's just a small tweak, but it's an important one.
Yeah, and I will say I just consulted a company. They were ecstatic initially. They heard me talk at an event, and then they said, "Listen, I just had an epiphany. Yesterday, I had a conversation with my head of customer success, and he said that he needed 5 more people. So I can tell him we're becoming product-led growth, and we don't need 5 more people." And I said, "Oh, hold on.
Whoa, that is not what this means. I don't think this means what you think this means."
Yeah. So it's not really not using the people who know the profession. Like, I don't expect product people to know better than customer success or customer support on how to do that work. I expect that instead of them doing the work, the customer success, customer support, them doing the work, they will actually consult on how to put it inside the product. What is the language to be used? How to address the customers? What are the different permutation of communication they're doing today? Like, we need, as product managers, we need their expertise to bring it into the product, but it definitely does not mean that we can do their job better. It just means that the same job will be done in a different way.
It's almost, and sounds like this is an official change management way of breaking down silos.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That it's bringing everyone together into solving the problems that we have in one place, and basically everybody rooting for this group that needs to execute into a specific to solve the same problem, to solve the same, to invest in the same place, versus each one trying to solve their own, what they think the problem is. It is really putting the whole organization rally around one solution.
Do you have an example that we could share of where product-led management really kind of took an organization to the next level, where it kind of broke down those silos, brought everybody together, and the ROI was really apparent?
Yeah, Slack is a product-led growth company.
Oh,
And it's so everything happens within Slack. You don't meet a salesperson, you upgrade within the product. You don't onboard outside, you onboard within Slack. There's certain channels, there's automated messages within Slack that happen when you onboard. Everything happens there. And it's no one can argue about their success and their adoption, the product adoption and the engagement that you see on the platform. And Slack came after many, other companies that tried to do it in various ways, in chat, in groups, and whatever, but never acted as with product-led strategies supporting their growth.
Now, do you think that it's possible to do a product-led strategy with a services organization?
Yes, absolutely. Because there's so many. So the whole idea is really to scale,
Right.
and so if you want to scale, your work, it's really to put everything into one place of experience, and you need to identify what is that experience that you provide your customer, and then focus all the efforts there. So as a service provider, although you do meet people, how do you communicate with your customer? Is there one place that you do it? Is there a one place where the customers can see, what happened, what's going to happen? Is the communication cohesive in one place, or do they need to look for different places to remember what you send them, what you gave them? Where's the information? It's really to put everything in one experience. And there are many tools that can support service providers in consolidating the communication, the storage, everything in one place.
And the onboarding and implementation
and the follow-ups, and when something doesn't, the questions, everything. Yeah,
exactly. I think that's going to be eye-opening for a lot of people as well, that whenever we say product led, I don't have a product. I'm not a product organization. I'm not a SaaS company. You don't have to be a SaaS company to have a product-led strategy.
Yeah.
The service is the product.
Is the product. Exactly. It's really important not to confuse product-led with being led by the product as well. Even in tech organizations, there are some, organizations that they have a very robust sales team. And that team is kind of hearing, wait, we're going to implement product-led growth strategies, and that means that my job is not as important, and they start pushing back on it. It's the contrary. It's a lot of work that the product team needs to do with the sales organization in order to implement whatever they're doing with the customers one-on-one at scale, so that you can grow faster. It does require, to change the structure of commission, and it's not seamless. You still need to work in it. That's why there are people that know how to do it, and, come to organizations and do that for you. But once this is kind of an ongoing, and you have one problem that the whole organization is focused on, and all the roles understand that they have a way to implement it into the product, then it goes faster, and scale comes with it, which is extremely rewarding.
Do you think it's easier to get a consultant like yourself to come in and help build this product-led strategy versus having somebody internal do it? And I know that I'm asking somebody that is a consultant this question. Yeah. However, if you've got an internal PMO, product management office, that could lead this effort, I'm just curious if it is something that they could do, or is there a benefit to having that outside eye?
Yeah. Well, like many things, it really depends on the customer and how ready they are. It is changing everything in the organization. So it does require, the CEO to be involved in the decision to do this. It is possible. I've implemented product-led growth strategies in a 20-year-old company as an internal person. It
That
really
sounds like
depends.
you had a great time. It sounds like that was fun.
It was fun. It was fun because you see the transformation. You see a lot of people that were very skeptical, all of a sudden seeing the results. That's extremely rewarding.
That is extremely rewarding. I've seen that myself, and that is probably one of the most rewarding things in
Yeah,
this kind of business.
absolutely. So to your question of who can do this, it can be someone external or it can be someone internal that knows the pillars of that work and know how to push for it and not be afraid of pushback and knows where to, it's like a spaghetti before. So where do you which side do you pull first? And how do you accumulate wins in order to start this kind of change and transformation in your organization?
I would like to talk to you about starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Now, we mentioned earlier that this is, while it looks like a book, it feels like a book, I would say tastes like a book, but I'm not going to put it in my mouth. It's not a book because what you said to me was that the long vision is that this, tying back into what we were talking about earlier, the long vision is this is a product, not a book.
Yeah,
So I would
absolutely.
love for you to kind of explain what you mean by that.
Yeah. So I will say that I'm not people say, "Oh, congratulations, you're a published author." And I always like, okay. Because technically, yes. But I never wrote a book. I created a product that someone would consume and enjoy. If you take the book, one of the things that I constantly wanted to convey is that we're a work in progress and it's okay as long as you make one. So the book is full of doodles because it mattered to me. The experience mattered to me. And the book has a workbook inside because I wanted it to have a higher return on investment than just a book, that it will be a book and a workbook. And so I made a lot of choices to bring it to, as much as possible, a product within, still 200 and something pages. The next thing is starting from scratch does not finish there. There's a course I'm working on right now that focuses on one of the chapters, and hopefully I'll make more as I grow the people who want to learn more about starting from scratch. And there's a talk that I do at organizations because I do believe that organizations need to not only teach us about, compliance and security, but they also need to teach us how to handle change and how to invoke change. Like, how do you change my organization? Or how do you not become so devastated when I've just done a reorg that will support our growth and our moving forward? And how do you make people feel comfortable in change and not get scared or push back on change? Because companies change, organizations change, markets change, and we need to adapt. And so if more people are like, oh, change, fun, versus, oh, change, oh my God, then it'll be a better workplace. We'll all probably be more successful, but really we'll be more healthy in this situation versus worried and concerned and frightened. So I'm on a mission to teach people to start from scratch and also have organizations adopt what starting from scratch talks about, which is a learning mindset and creating, learning groups and clubs within the organization.
There are a couple of things that I want to point out here. So the chapter titles of the book, Adopt a Learning Mindset, Grow Your Resilience, Build Your Personal Board of Directors, The Spark, What or Who is the New You, Bringing Your Vision to Life, and Check Your Baggage. One of my favorite chapters was The Spark.
Yeah.
And it talks about recognizing and spotting the signs that change is coming. And I think that is so important in today's world because change is, well,
Inevitable.
It's inevitable. But two, you look at all of the layoffs that has happened in all of these organizations, literally over 100,000 people have been laid off in the last 12 months, especially in tech organizations. And if people could see the signs, would things be different? I don't know. Would they have done things different? I don't know. But there are always signs. This is such a good thing to know what to look for and be cognizant of. So can you talk about the spark for just a minute?
Yeah. So in the book, I talk about two sparks. One that is internal, like when you want to create change, either because you feel that you've completed what you came here to do and now it's boring and you like your workplace, you like your
Career pivot.
colleagues. Yeah. So it can be a pivot, but it can also be things that I did within my company where I was like, okay, I came here to build this, and I've done it, and I've done even more than that. But now what? Like, I feel that continuing to just maintain this is not as interesting or exciting, and I felt I'm getting bored. So what do you do when that happens to you? I loved my workplace. I loved my manager. I loved my peers. I loved my team. But now what? Do I need to leave this because I feel that I'm done? So that spark that comes inside you can lead to a promotion, can lead to you being responsible for another activity, can lead to, growing your team. It can, if you know how to manage that spark, then opportunity can come your way.
The other reason that we are airing in May is that this is Mental Health Awareness Month. And you are a huge mental health in the workplace advocate.
Yes.
And wanted to kind of hear some of the things that you have done and why is this so important to you?
So it's important to me because, we started the conversation around what happened to people who changed, that did well under change, and other people that didn't. So when I did a research to really understand what's happening, I came across the term that's called post-traumatic growth. And there is a difference between people who experience trauma that grow from a trauma or stay with it. And the whole term of resilience is like this term in the middle. Like, it's not someone that stays with trauma or grows from trauma, which is possible, but people who just bounce back to whatever they were. The post-traumatic growth is actually an experience that after an event that wasn't pleasant, you actually bounce back bigger than you were before. And the bigger manifests itself in things that, in addition to your work, you're now believing in. So people start nonprofits, people all of a sudden expand their network. They start believing in things that they didn't believe before. They write books, they start companies, they have a pivot in their career, they start teaching, volunteering. It's this amazing growth spurt that happens to us after something that wasn't that pleasant. I was looking for this in my workplace. I'm looking for ways to teach more people. 25% of the population actually experienced post-traumatic growth. It's a big number, but not enough for me. What I want is that more people will actually grow from an unpleasant situation. And that growth is something that we can learn.
We've spent a lot of time talking about managing change, and your book is very much about change. A lot of people that are listening today are in that arena. If you were talking, in fact, I'd like for you to directly talk to that individual right now. What is your advice to that person right now who is struggling with managing change?
Yeah. First thing is to know that you're not alone. And although it's chapter 3 in my book, it's not the last thing or the third thing you need to do. I think the first thing we need to do is really lean on our network And the best network in this situation is actually a network that knows us in a work setting. And, my family is a great resource for me, but the people who know me in a work setting are my coworkers. And to have someone that, knows you in the work setting is is um, is extremely valuable, and a relationship that I would urge you to continue to maintain, even if you're not laid off, even after you get your next job. That network will come to your advice and support whenever you need it, when you want to grow, when you want to change, or when something happens to you. So the first thing is really to address people around you, and really also be aware of who you pull in. I actually, yesterday, I put a video on my social because I didn't feel strong. I woke up a little bit overwhelmed. It was a big day. It was a big day for me yesterday. And I contacted a friend of mine, which I knew, by the way, that might not be able to address what I was feeling, but we had to talk that day anyway. So I was like, okay, let me start with her. And the first thing she told me is like, what? You're overwhelmed. It's not possible. You can do anything. That's not what I needed to hear. I did not need to hear in that moment that I can do everything, because I did not feel it. I needed her to just distract me. I needed to do something else. So really pull in the people that what they'll bring to the table. If it's advice, if it's a connection, if it's a resource, whatever it is, but really start connecting to yourself and know what you need, and then pull the right resource. So after I spoke to her and I knew that it's not going to help, I knew what was going to help is not being in front of my desk and continuing to work on something that was overwhelming for me, but actually to take a walk. I bought myself an acai bowl. So I felt like I'm doing also something good for myself versus scarfing on cookies here in the kitchen. I did something that helped me get out of it. So it's the first thing is really to rely on whatever it is, the resource that can help you work on it. And then the second thing is really to start learning something that gets you excited, to grow, to start growing. And it can be something that you always wanted to know. It can be something that's relevant to your career, or it can be kind of like, if you have a role model, what would be something that role model knows, and how you can start feeling that you're growing towards the next new version of you.
Perfect. So, Oz, why would anyone get in touch with you, and how would somebody get in touch with you?
Well, my website, you can talk to me there. I'm on chat, and there's a way to contact me. You can read my book, obviously. And I have a newsletter. There's a club of change starters, I call them, people that can hear more from me and from the content that I consume around managing change through harder times. And so I would love to, for more people to know about it and join this learning of how to change properly.
Thank you so much for
This was
joining
fun.
us. I am so grateful that you are in my network and that you joined us today. And I can't wait to see what happens with starting from scratch.
Thanks again.
Thank you, everybody else, for joining us, and we will see you again next week. As we wrap the episode up, we would like to take this time to thank you for joining us this week on Unexpected Journey. Our guest information will be linked in the episode description, along with a link to our company website, remoteevolution.com, and our host website, annebibb.com. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on your favorite podcast app and on our YouTube channel so that you never miss an episode and we can continue to bring them to you. Let us know your thoughts on what we discussed in the comments section. And once again, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again next week for another episode of Unexpected Journey.